Hello Rockstars, Gargudon here, and welcome to episode 5 of the Rockstars On The Road podcast here on GTABase. Joining me today as guest once again is GTABase's founder, Andy Badwool, and together we're going to take a retrospective look at Max Payne 3. Now that Andy was on the last episode as well, I feel like all guest introductions are already out of the way, so let's just dive straight into this retrospective. So, the first thing I want to cover is, what were some of your favorite and least favorite elements about Max Payne 3 in terms of, among other factors, story, characters, and gameplay?
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's good to be part of this, and, well, there is a reason why I'm part of this podcast in the first place, or why I accepted to be part of it, because Max Payne 3 was one of my favorite games overall, really. Like, it was, like, pretty much every feature, like, was on point. I'm a very big fan of the game, and even if it came out 9 years ago, I still remember it very vividly and very fondly. It's hard to decide on a favorite feature because it had everything going for it. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's been many years since I played it. I played it in 2014, about 2 years after release, but I think the best thing was that it proved it was really the first like kind of non-open world game Rockstar made. You know, mainly just campaign driven, but they pulled that off really well. And you know, with mechanics from Grand Theft Auto and such, and with kind of like the Rockstar spin on the story, and it was just a good, I guess you could call it a good breath of fresh air in Rockstar's catalog at the time also.
Yeah, I think the gameplay, especially you mentioned, was a technical milestone for the time because I think it was a step ahead from any GTA that came out before that. It had like very realistic movements. The shooting mechanics and animations were
almost
incredible.
Yeah.
You could shoot at a 360 degree angle, also while running, lying on the ground, without aiming, just shoot at a 360 degree angle. And the shooting mechanic that were in Max Payne 3 actually served as a base
for GTA 5.
For GTA 5, exactly.
Yeah.
They were actually toned down for GTA 5. So GTA 5 is actually shooting mechanics that are less developed than the Max Payne 3 ones. So
yeah, Max Payne 3's mechanics were on point. Absolutely. Yeah.
The bullet time and the shot dodge were
brilliant.
Iconic.
It was brilliant.
The dramatic kill cam effect on the final kill. Everything.
Absolutely.
And also, one more thing is that I think Max Payne 3 was one of the first games, if not the first, I don't know if it was actually the first, to remove the transition between cutscenes and gameplay. So when a cutscene was over, it would transition immediately into gameplay.
Oh yeah. I know what you mean, and then we saw that in GTA 5 as well.
Right, and that is common in the game nowadays. But I think Max Payne 3 was among the first, if not the very first,
Rockstar title to do that. Even in Red Dead Redemption, there was a little loading screen sometime between like when starting a mission and such. What I remember.
Yeah. So I think Max Payne 3 may have been the first game to have this feature, or at least the first AAA game to have this feature.
Yeah.
When cutscenes would smoothly transition into gameplay. So that's another very.
I think we can agree that no matter what, Max Payne 3 was like the first game from Rockstar's side that took them in the like technical and mechanical direction that they've used ever since. So like technically, and also in terms of graphics, like technically, Max Payne 3 was a big milestone for Rockstar.
Yeah, the graphics were amazing as well. Like they were very
for the time and for that generation of consoles, absolutely.
Like I think they hold up to these days. If you go and play it, or if you go watch a YouTube video of it, it doesn't look bad in 2020, 21.
Yeah, but at the time it was brilliant. 2012. Yeah.
Yeah, and plus, I must say, like, it was one of my favorite games, especially because I played it so many times, and I have to say this, like, such a big fan of it. So the reason is because I wanted to get the platinum on it.
Oh yeah.
And there was I got the platinum.
Oh, so you spent plenty of time in the multiplayer when that was online as well.
Well, a part of it, but the biggest part wasn't that. So essentially, the game had a trophy that was called New York Minotaur.
Oh yeah.
Actually, the most New York Minotaur.
Oh goddamn. Oh damn.
Which means you had, and that was like the hardest trophy in the game.
Did you get it
Maybe
ever?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Maybe one of the hardest trophy I think in gaming history, because that game.
Yeah, what was it? You had to beat the game in a minute, but then for every kill you would get extra seconds.
Exactly.
So it was like you had to know every route, and no wasting time collecting collectibles and such. It was like just almost like a speed run in a way.
Yes.
Like a really rushed speed run.
Yes, and you cannot die or fail.
You can't die or fail either? Holy. So better know like the locations of every painkiller as well.
Right, so essentially there was two things. There was the New York Minute mode, which was exactly what you said. Like you start with 1 minute and then you gain time by killing people or exploding cars, etc. And that's chapter by chapter. So you do it for chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, and that's separate. But as well, you cannot die and you cannot fail. So you not even fail a condition or fail a mission in any way. And then was the New York Minotaur Core, which was the whole game from start to finish with these rules.
Oh yeah.
So you can't die or fail in the whole game in one sitting. So you cannot even save the game. You have to play it all in one sitting. Of course, you can pause it and go take a drink and come back, but you cannot save or quit. And you're on a timer. You can't die or fail. And so you can imagine how many times I played the game to be able to beat these.
Yeah, it sounds really stressful. I think what I did was, first time I played it on normal difficulty, and then I would to kind of get the collectibles, golden guns and souvenirs or what it was. I would kind of replay the levels individually on hard difficulty, just so I could do a second playthrough and gain the achievements for beating it on hard difficulty and such. I think I may have practiced a few levels on old school. I never got to play that though. It wasn't too difficult, neither too hard. I just fell off of it. But hardcore, that was a nightmare.
Yeah.
And then you have GTA series videos walkthrough on hardcore difficulty, playing through it like savages.
Yeah.
On hardcore difficulty.
Yeah, and that was probably one of the hardest. But I remember that I made one run per day. So I remember coming back from work every day, and I couldn't wait to go and give it another try. And I thought, okay, today is gonna be the day that I'm gonna get it. And it took me probably 15 or 20 attempts before I.
Oh, the New York Minute.
15 or 20. Yeah.
Oh,
the New York Minute Core, yeah. And by the way, if you. I have a video up on my YouTube channel, and we can overlay it during this podcast if you want.
Absolutely.
Where I have the final 2 or 3 minutes where I finally beat it, and I uploaded that. So we can overload it, or we can overlay it here. So yeah, that was pretty much one of the reasons why I played it so many times. And I think at that time I knew every chapter by memory. So I literally remember every enemy spawn, everything.
Every path and whatnot.
Yeah, even
that's
every
awesome.
quote or line from the game, I memorized the majority of the quotes from the game.
That's awesome.
I'm sure I still remember.
I think it's not a game I've really returned to that much after I played it in 2014. But every now and then I've kind of found a walkthrough on YouTube just to kind of rewatch parts of it because I remember I have very fond memories with many parts of it.
What was your favorite chapter of the game, if you remember that?
Oh, let me try and walk them through. I think the one in the beginning at the nightclub. I really like that one. I can't remember the names of all of them, but chapter 2 was.
So if I remember correctly, let's see. I don't have any.
It's something rotten in the air. That's chapter 1. And let's see
if after 9 years I can still remember the chapter. So I think.
There are 14 in total.
1,
that's something rotten in the air. I remember that much.
Yeah, so chapter 1 was where you have to, you're in the pool.
Yeah, that's where you're at that Bronco rooftop party, and then the Commando Sombra come and crash the whole thing.
And they kidnap
Fabiana. Yeah.
Yeah, and the wife. There you go.
Yeah.
The second one is the party.
At the nightclub. Yeah.
The third one is stadium.
Where Max is like hanging out of the helicopter and shooting rockets and stuff.
Yeah, that's amazing. And even the action was amazing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the action. I mean, the action. Max Payne in that game, he felt like one of those like '80s action movie heroes, like John McClane or something. The guy who just like bleeds everywhere and is only down to like a tank top, but yet he's like, an unstoppable beast and just like killing everyone. Especially, I remember during the last chapter after he shoots that grenade or something. Like he's literally covered in blood everywhere, and he's only down to his tank top and a ruined shirt. But he's like, no, we're not done yet. Yeah, he was badass, and that's the whole thing. Can we talk about that for a second? Like, another Rockstar character I feel like has a lot in common with Max is Michael. Just because of the looks and the clear similar outfits. Like there's the parrot shirt and the gray suit. But other than that, Michael, even though we don't see that much of it, he does have this like kind of badass expert marksman element to him.
Yeah, and they did give him
the bullet time as well.
Ability
game,
so yeah.
Get that kind of like mid-40s like dude who's just a badass. Yeah.
And there was something we talked about the cinematic experience and the writing of the story was great as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean,
when you ask me what are your favorite moments and what are your least favorite moments, I cannot name a least favorite moment for this game.
Like,
I have to say.
The thing with Max Payne is actually I've only played the third one, so I'm not like that up to date on the whole story, but I know a little bit from the first and the second. Like, what is it, the Valkyr drug and what's her name, Mona and such. Like, I know parts of it, but you can't question me too much in it. Let's say it like that. But the Max Payne 3 story alone was pretty cool, and from how I understand it, some people like complained that it didn't feel very personal to Max, the story, compared to 1 and 2, where he's hunting the people responsible for the death of his family. But
sure,
I guess you could say this is kind of like Max's redemption story in a way. Like, for that long, he's fought for himself. Have been like a selfish, depressed alcoholic. But now it's kind of like his turn to prove what he can do for everyone else.
Selfish, depressed alcoholic.
Yeah, but Max Payne 3 is kind of like his redemption story in a way. As he starts shifting away from that, and he realizes that there's a world bigger than him, and that he can actually, kind of be the hero that no one else is going to be. It's kind of his. Yeah. It's kind of his chance to prove that he's a man of the people, I guess you could say. As he starts, getting caught up in. From what I understand the story, Max was just meant to play the fall guy, whatever that quite means in that whole like human organs stealing scheme. But then, he obviously gets caught up in it and finds out there's so many, conspirators in it, and he starts, crossing names off the list.
Yeah, and also, when you mentioned that people said that the story wasn't personal, but at the end of the day, I think Max Payne, closed up his personal ties with the previous game. So there wasn't really much else to tell from that part of the story.
From that, this was
so either
more.
You don't make a new game of the Max Payne series, or you have to come up with something new.
Yeah, and that's why I think a Max, even as cool as it would be, maybe that's why I think a Max Payne 4 would never really work, because there's really nothing left to tell unless it's gonna be kind of maybe like the action movies I mentioned, unless it's just gonna be another chapter that's there really just for the milking of it.
Well, there can always be something else
because
with a new story.
Absolutely,
like, for example, I've made the comparison to like Rambo.
Yeah, there's
Rambo. How many Rambo movies did they make? And every time there's an ending of the Rambo movie, you can say, okay, this is the last one. He's finally done it. And then the next time something else happens. Then
absolutely,
he goes back into the even Michael in the GTA 5 trailer says, I thought I was retired, put my feet up, and then you know how it is, and he goes back into it, and
Yeah.
so Max Payne could have the same problem
Absolutely.
5 years from now.
Absolutely. I just think the thing with Max Payne is that, in terms of Max's personal story, everything there has been told. At the end of Max Payne 3, we see him, he's done something good for once, and he has more or less gone sober, and he's figuring himself out again. Getting the happy ending, I guess, he deserved.
I agree. Like, I think if that's the last game of Max Payne, that's a great ending for the character.
Absolutely, and the whole way, as he walks into the sunset on that beach, wherever that is, and, that he's just fine. He's found peace, finally.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So that's a great ending for the character.
Absolutely.
But I wouldn't mind if they made another game.
Absolutely
from
not.
a selfish standpoint.
I just think alone, I think a lot of Rockstar fans now, especially the millions who've gone on, during the GTA Online days, they don't even know who Max Payne is. So it's kind of like, would there be anything in it from a money perspective for Rockstar? Probably not.
Well, and that's a shame because I feel like if the game came out nowadays, it would have probably gotten more praise than it did back in 2012. I don't know why, but I feel like I don't feel like, and we can get to this later because I know you have a question later to talk about what is the status of Max Payne now. But I think the game, where the gaming community is probably larger now, or at least with GTA 5, Rockstar gained so much popularity, even more that I don't think this game has nothing to be envious compared to Red Dead Redemption 2. Like, I don't think, like, from a story standpoint and from everything, I think the game is a great game. It's of course shorter than Red Dead Redemption 2, but apart from that, man, it was great.
Absolutely, and I actually wanted to kind of do in-depth talk about the story just for a second, kind of finish that off. The story, I guess, was darker than your typical Rockstar story. Like, towards the end, and it, like, parts of it were really dark, but it was brilliantly thrown together, with all the kind of this big plot and this whole conspiracy that Max ends up playing the fall guy in, and then, just, as I said, crossing names off the list. It's a cool story, and I think the maps alone, like, the even though they weren't fully explorable, they were still very well animated, well looking, realistic environments. You had everything from the nightclubs to that abandoned hotel to the airport to slums deep in the favela and the Brazilian favela and such.
Very diverse.
And, the Hoboken, like the cemetery as well. Lots of cool different environments.
By the way, you mentioned the airport. That reminded me something.
Yeah?
How about the soundtrack?
Oh, by hell.
Soundtrack for the game.
Yeah.
The soundtrack for the game was amazing.
Absolutely.
Well.
I remember during the final chapter, one card left to play, that when I can't remember the name of the song, but when it's just like loudly starts playing and Tears, yeah, and Max just goes out and shoots everyone. That's awesome.
Yeah, like the final soundtrack, the final song in the game is really iconic, but also the rest of the soundtrack was very well put together. The band, I think, was called Health.
Yeah, I remember. They also had a song in GTA 5, and I think they made the Arena War soundtrack as well for GTA Online.
Yeah, so great job by them. So yeah, even the soundtrack was amazing. So yeah, if you ask me what is my least favorite feature of Max Payne 3, I cannot give you an answer.
Yeah.
I don't know about you.
I don't really think so. Like, given it was a game that was smaller in scale for a Rockstar title, they pulled it off brilliantly. They still had collectibles you could collect throughout the chapters, and you could replay at any time. And as I said, cool environments that were fun to explore, even though it was not an open world game. Because I feel like with other games, like kind of those campaign driven games, I've played, like, the environments, even though they're beautifully animated, feel very empty. Like, they're not really fun to explore other than where you have to go. But yet during like Max Payne 3, you would, oh, I can get into this alleyway, and oh, there's a new environment I didn't know was here, but there's a gold, like, it's a collectibles area. And that's what I think was pretty cool about it as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, they took the campaign-driven game formula and added a touch of Rockstar to it in their own fashion. Yeah, it was brilliant.
Man,
brilliantly pulled
Yeah,
off.
I remember it fondly, and you know, if you want to go move to your next question, we can talk about what we think about the legacy, because
Absolutely. Yeah, we can move on, and then I'll bet we'll come back to some of these parts either way. But yeah, what I wanted to talk about next was kind of like, do you feel like Max Payne 3 is a household Rockstar title that has left behind a remarkable legacy, and how do you feel like that is looked upon today?
yeah, definitely, I think it's a household title in my opinion. And again, probably didn't get as much love as it deserved back then, or at least it did. But maybe if it was released today, it would have probably received more attention.
Probably.
I feel like it can be on par with Red Dead 2.
Yeah, like
overall quality, the story, the characters.
I absolutely agree. As I said, like from a story perspective, from a writing perspective, the game is brilliant, and in my own head, it is definitely a household Rockstar title. As you said, it's just one of those Rockstar titles that, given how Rockstar's grown as well, I think a lot of people haven't played, and therefore they can't really have an opinion on it, or many people don't even know this game exists. And therefore, it's kind of like, it's only a household title among those who actually know of it. Like, for a small group of people. Where a game like GTA 5, like, is video game history. Everybody's heard of it. Like, everyone has.
And I don't know the exact sale figures of Max Payne 3. I don't know if they're actually, how much it sold compared to, for example, Red Dead.
I think it sold at least, like, a good amount of copies. But that reminds me, isn't it true the game was delayed like around 2.5 years? Do you think that might have played a role in everything becoming like a little messy? Because from what I know, yeah, obviously Rockstar always delay their games, but this was originally intended for late 2009, then 2011, then like early 2012, then May 2012. Like, it was all over the place.
Okay, I don't remember that.
I think I saw that in a video I watched, that it was delayed quite a lot, Max Payne 3.
I didn't remember that, but yeah, I guess it was delayed for good reason, because at the end of the day, they knocked it out of the park. So
absolutely.
Yeah, so if you are listening to this podcast and you haven't played Max Payne 3,
do it.
I strongly suggest you to do it, because it's a hell of a game. I don't think the multiplayer was fun as well. I don't know if the multiplayer is still available. Probably it's not. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I didn't spend
but
that
much.
The
multiplayer was fun as well.
I didn't spend that much time with the multiplayer, but it was pretty fun. Like it was cool to see Rockstar Classic, like a more original type of multiplayer, without the open world, and where it was just like kind of more PvP and such. That was cool.
Yeah. It
Definitely.
also incorporated the shoot, dodge, and bullet time mechanics, which is, I imagine it's not easy to incorporate that into
an online game. Absolutely.
That must be. I think it worked by considering your cone of vision. So if in your cone of vision you were seeing a player that was in bullet time, then you will get slowed down, while other people that were not in that cone of vision, they would not get affected by the.
Yeah, I think that's that is how it was.
And it doesn't sound easy to pull off.
Absolutely not.
From a technical standpoint. So yeah, that was a great achievement as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was just Max Payne 3 was, I guess, overall kind of like a fresh. It was a different type of game for Rockstar to make, and a breath of fresh air, as I said. They definitely lived up to expectations and was great, but unfortunately, I personally just feel like it's a game that is kind of like a hidden gem in Rockstar's catalog.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm trying to look up how many copies that Max Payne sold. Yeah, looks like they shipped like 4 million copies in just the first year or something like that. I'm reading, so that's not bad.
Absolutely not. Not in. I mean, it's obviously nothing compared to what later Rockstar titles would sell, but still pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, if you haven't played it yet, I recommend going back at it and taking a look at it because it's definitely worth it. And it's not even that long. Maybe that's one of the reasons why it didn't get so much consideration. It's like I think the campaign is about 12 hours long or something like that.
Yeah,
but
each chapter
it's short
would.
and sweet, and
Each chapter would typically take around 40 minutes to an hour to complete. Sometimes a little shorter, all depending on like how much time you took and how much you wouldn't suck. Like I think I died a few times, and there were a few parts I had to play over a couple times.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So I definitely recommend this game, and spread the word.
Absolutely.
Make Max Payne 3.
I don't think it was ever backwards compatible on at least Xbox One where I play, so that kind of sucks. Like if it ever was, I could definitely consider if I can find my old disc, try and replay it.
Yeah.
That would definitely that could definitely be fun. Just in terms of, I don't think I answered that. Like you asked me before, kind of like what my favorite chapter was. I think it was probably one of the ones towards the end, really. Maybe the airport one. I remember it was. Is that, as I said, in terms of that, like how dark the story is? I think it's the middle of the story that was like that really had a dark tone to it. You know, when Max goes into the favela and you know those like two private militias clash, and then there's a street gang, and Fabiana gets killed, and Marcelo gets burned alive, and it's all over the place. Like,
yeah,
and you know it starts getting dark in the favela, and yeah, like the middle of the story. I think it was like the second act or something, as they called it. That was dark stuff, but really well executed. Absolutely, and I think did we ever talk about that? I guess we could just talk about that for a second, like kind of some of the different characters, like who would you say were kind of like standout characters in terms of how they were written? Are there any like kind of you think weren't pulled off as well, and then there were obviously the better ones? Because Max Payne 3 had a lot of different interesting characters from a lot of different, I guess, parts of the world.
Yeah, let me go back and finish about this.
Yeah, I have like.
Of course, we had Passos.
Oh yeah, Passos. He's a very interesting character. He's kind of like, from how I understand it, Max, like ex-cop. Now he's a private contractor. Who, I mean, he obviously kind of does a shitty thing, like by using Max at the beginning. But then the two eventually work it out. But I think it's throughout the beginning of the game, Max and Passos have a pretty cool, like, they're kind of like a cool buddy, action body duo.
Yeah,
the two of them.
I remember like a quote was something like, Max says, I might have written a book on dumb ideas, but Passos sure wasn't afraid to quote from it. So when Passos just like jumps into a shootout or something, then Max
yeah,
like that.
Yeah, Passos was.
They were very similar.
It was an interesting character, and then you obviously had like in terms of the villains, like the main ones were what's his name, I think Bachmeyer, that like creepy looking, totally pale private militia dude. And then you had Victor Branco, obviously, who was kind of like the main antagonist, but you don't really find out until late in the game. And then other than that, there were a few side characters, from the Gracia Preto and such, but no characters that were that interesting, and no one that like Max wasn't able to kill like in like 2 seconds. Like there's that guy, if you remember, with the machete who's like attacking Max, but Max, easily disarms him and chops his head off.
Yeah.
Easily. So yeah, there were a lot of different characters, and as you said, Passos, and I think the whole Bronco family was definitely really well portrayed as well. You had like Marcelo, and was that his name?
Fabiana.
Yeah, and Fabiana, who were kind of like the young hotheads, really just burning all the money that came from higher up in the family. And then you had what's her name? I think Giovanna. Yeah, Giovanna was a really well written character in the sense that she was a really young, vulnerable girl who never really even though she liked to party with her sister, she never really enjoyed that lifestyle. And her heart was always helping in the favela and such. No, her heart was elsewhere.
Yeah.
And that's also one of the reasons why we found out she started falling in love with Passos, because that's the thing with Passos. Like, even if he did some shitty things to Max and whatnot, and ultimately Passos was just as much a victim as Max. Passos just wanted he just wanted a job, without really doing the digging that Max eventually would into how legit this actually is. Because I think it's clear that Passos, like Giovanna, he's not in for all that, rich man bullshit world that the others are caught up in. And he knows there's something suspicious about it and that it can lead to grim things, so him and Giovanna just won out. And it's also, that's like the middle chapter, where Giovanna, is on the run with Max. We start to see how like clumsy, how innocent she is, but kind of like see the toughest side possible of her. Like, she's a clumsy idiot. But
but she tried.
Absolutely, she was definitely a standout character in my eyes. So yeah. Other than that, like, I don't know if there's that much else to cover, given, that this game definitely was smaller in scale compared to other Rockstar titles. But I think, like, the main elements of it we've covered pretty well. So, is there anything like you would like to talk about here? Finally.
Not that much really. If not, as I said, I think the game definitely deserves to be played if you didn't play it yet. And I think it was definitely a great game. Probably one of the top that Rockstar made. Of course, Rockstar made so many great games that they didn't make many bad games. But yeah, I would definitely recommend it. And I look back very fondly on the game, and it remains one of my favorite games. Maybe because I played it so many times. Yeah. Like I said, to complete it fully, but.
I really hope if Rockstar ever do kind of like a remastered collection, older titles, I really hope Max Payne 3 is one of them. Not like a big one, just really improve the graphics a little bit, maybe touch up a few other things here and there, but other than that, it's mostly the same game.
Sure, yeah.
Just like 10 years later, almost.
Yeah, and it doesn't feel like a 10-year-old game. If you go look at it, it doesn't feel like that long at all.
Absolutely not. But other than that, I think, unless there's anything else for you, we've covered a lot of great stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to have been a part of this. Happy to reminisce about such a good game.
Absolutely, the least.
Thank you for coming up with the idea to talk about it.
Absolutely. I think it's always fun doing kind of retrospectives. I might eventually do some retrospective of other Rockstar titles later on. So keep an eye out for that.
Right.
Then I just want to thank everyone for watching and listening to episode 5 of Rockstars On The Road, and I hope all of you enjoyed listening to this. Stay up to date on everything happening on GTABase and more things Rockstar. Links to everyone's social media pages will be in the description below, should you be interested in checking that out. And finally, keep an eye out for more Rockstars On The Road episodes coming sooner than later here on GTABase. And if anyone has feedback or topic ideas, feel free to share it in the comment section down below. Now, once again, thanks for watching and listening, everyone. And I hope to see you for future episodes. And until those come out, stay safe and keep the awesome community what it is. And thanks to Andy for joining me.
Thank you again.
It was great. And that sums it up. Stay safe and active, everyone. See you later, Rockstars. Keep on rocking.